Over the next 2 minutes, I want to talk to you about a term that I like to use when talking about engagement in classrooms, and that term is mental truancy. So, what is mental truancy? Well, in my mind, what it means is that we've got students in body in front of us, but not necessarily with us in mind. So they can be sat in front of us, they can be potentially looking at us, looking like they're engaged, but really they're not engaged at a cognitive level, they're just merely compliant. So children are very, very good at understanding the rules of engagement and knowing when to pick their pen up, and if you say copy this off the board, they'll do all those things that they have to do, but are they actually switched on and switched in to what we're saying? Are they really following our every word? Are they cognitively engaged in what's happening? Are they thinking? Are they using their deep thinking skills to really process what we're doing and stay in touch with every word we're saying? And quite often we get students who will sit there and they will be almost switched off. The problem is we can't see that. We can't see, they don't have LED lights that demonstrate when they go from green to red and when they're kind of switching off. And it's only natural. We do this as adults ourselves. Think about a professional development session or a staff meeting sometimes where you're sat there and you start to drift and wander and think about what we're having for tea, when I'm picking the kids up, or you just drift into a bit of a kind of a mindlessness where you just you're almost half sleeping because you're not really engaged in what's said. But the presenter is sat there and stood there and thinking, oh, they're looking at me, they're listening, they're taking every word in, and you're not. But that's happening in our classrooms as well. So we need to understand what are the warning signs for that. Now, it might be that someone's looking out the window, an easy warning sign is book closed or arms folded, looking somewhere different, drifting off. We can maybe start to spot some of those things. But it's a lot harder when we can't spot those signs and our children look like they're engaged. So one way to really combat that is to make sure we use our checking for understanding really well. So we use our presence around the classroom, we can ask lots of questions, we use a cold calling style of question where we don't ask students to kind of engage and buy into it by putting their hand up, because by default you can just sit and put your hands down and therefore not engage. But we'll use lots of different methods, mini whiteboards, so everyone has to kind of participate. All those things of how you get more participation and more cognitive engagement will reduce those elements of mental truancy. And ultimately, if we can do that and we can have more children switched on throughout the lesson, thinking more regularly and deeper, then, as we know, hopefully, memory is the residue of thought. The more we get our students to think, the more they're going to remember, and that's going to be better for everyone. So beware of mental truancy, look for the signs of it, and do everything you can to be proactive to stop it happening in the first place.